Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Today I played quite a smooth game to a win against the French defence. I don't know any of the theory against the French defence, so I was curious as to why I seemed to do so well. In the analysis, what I considered to be fairly natural moves ended up being the Steinitz variation of the French defence, which has been described as an aggressive response by White. My opponent's response on move 4 to my e5, with the pawn attacking their knight on f6, was the point where they diverged from theory. The consequences here were interesting, as White ended up having quite a favourable position. Please enjoy. Let's start off with the review. I played okay, so about 77% accuracy, slightly more accurate than my opponent, and relatively smooth. Advantage most of the way, except for a bit of an error, so a blunder here. That was my blunder, but that only dropped me back to equality. And then a blunder on my opponent's part led me to basically a fairly comfortable win for the rest of the game. So according to the Stockfish's bot, they reckon it was intense. Now let's have a look now at the analysis. I had the white pieces in this game, and as usual, e4. I am an e4 player. They played e6, so I knew, okay, French defense, usually I take the full center, so d4, expected d5, and then knight c3, so to defend the pawn. They now play knight f6, and here I don't know any more theory, but I thought that, this looked potentially, reasonably good. So I played that move. And here, according to according to both Stockfish in their analysis, but also when I was doing some reading, moving the knight to the d7 square, so knight fd7 is apparently the best move. Now, my opponent here played I think a somewhat aggressive push with knight e4, and as you can see, Stockfish reckons that move was better. And apparently here the best thing for me is in fact to straight up capture. But I didn't know that, and so I thought, no, let's just play maybe a little bit more, I thought what was more principled, just develop my pieces. So put a sort of extra, I wanted to put an extra defender to the pawn there, so I played bishop e3, so still slightly ahead, even though it was inaccurate. Opponent now plays bishop b4, putting a second attacker on that knight. I thought that was fine. Develop the other knight to e2. So here, what Stockfish reckoned was best was to immediately punish the opponent for moving their bishop out by playing queen to g4, immediately attacking the pawn on g7. So this feels very familiar. So these are very similar ideas, in fact, to the Vienna game. So, but no, I played knight e2, so still just equal. So I haven't damaged my position, even though, again, relatively not the best move. Opponent captures, and that was my purpose, to place knight there, allowed me to capture back. And here I am a little bit ahead. And now I thought I could probably chase their bishop out of the way. So there we go. Now at this point, that bishop is pretty much trapped because, can't capture there, can't go there, can't go there. So knight there, that bishop is lost. And I thought that it probably was okay for me to capture the bishop pair. I thought I'll develop my other bishop out first. And again, Stockfish wants me to immediately punish the move out by the bishop by playing out queen. However, that just felt that felt a bit too aggressive for me, but apparently that was good. So that allows for an aggressive move. I'll know for next time. They play f6, and I was reasonably comfortable that this was probably not going to be good. Probably not going to be good for white, for black, and potentially there's that move here again. With that sort of block, with that check. And if they try to capture back, you end up getting the rook. So there's a lot of potential there. So yeah, so Stockfish reckons queen here was best for that maneuver, but I was sort of stuck in my idea of capturing that bishop, so I sort of did that first. That does open the file for the rook, but that's okay. I was going to cast on this side, on the king side anyway. Here I captured here, but again, as per Stockfish, this would have been better. So what that would have potentially looked like, queen here, if they chose to block, this looks really good, doesn't it? So that's potentially a very powerful tactic with the bishop and queen. However, I decided to just capture. I thought if they captured back with the knight, that was potentially okay. They can't go, whoops, they can't really go here. I suppose they could waste the time getting back. If they capture, I was happy to capture back, or capture back with queen. If they go here or here, that's defended by the queen. So I thought I was happy. I was fine with the knight being in that position. Though here we're actually back to equality. We're actually back to equality. Yep. Again, back to that back to that tactic. Here, I didn't think that made sense because surely they could just block with the knight. They also short castle. Here, I push the pawn. Asking what are they going to do with that knight, and here that apparently wasn't the most accurate move. Now Stockfish again sees this tactic here, and basically what that is, again, I just didn't see these diagonal tactics with the bishops and the queen, is captures, with check, queen goes back, captures. So that's what that was about. Yeah, so that would have been a very, very nice sequence. However, I didn't see that. I pushed that pawn, and I suppose it worked for me because they ended up blundering their knight. So maybe they didn't see the diagonal either. And at this point onwards, I basically pretty much have won because I'm a full piece up. So what I'm trying to do is really just trying to liquidate. But some interesting play still happens here. Opponent pushes a pawn to threaten the bishop. Here I thought a little while. I just opted to sort of move the bishop out of the way. So maybe, yep, this way and then this way would have been better, but I didn't see that in the course of the game. I expected them to try to, they might well push that pawn next, opening that up to threaten my queen. However, here I saw that I had check. Yep, that made sense. But now, basically I want to liquidate pieces anyway. And that bishop is basically forced to trade itself because there's nowhere else to go. Looking very good. I didn't expect them to do that, but that was fine because now, again, I can force another trade. And all these balanced trades give me the advantage because basically I've got queen and rook and also an extra piece, the bishop, and they only have queen and rook. Opponent pushes forward, which was, I think, a good move. However, they're just not fast enough. And I was pretty sure this was okay for me. So rook here, asking the question, are they really going to move? And I thought if they do that, that's fine because this square is still protected by the bishop fundamentally. So captures the queen, they capture back, and here I brought the queen here to basically potentially capture that pawn. That's also defended here. I thought if they tried to check, that's fine. I can just walk the king out of the way. And in fact, you will see that Stockfish is completely unafraid of that pawn. So in Stockfish's determination, it's just not fast enough. They actually can't promote that pawn. So they actually suggest that the queen can go on an attack unafraid. Now, I was a little bit afraid. I hadn't done the calculation to say that was okay. So I moved the queen here basically to take out that pawn. Opponent does sort of one final check, and then right after they did the check, before I could make the next move, they actually opted to resign because basically they're just not fast enough. Because if I move out of the way and they try to promote, that's nuked. It's all gone. That doesn't work. If they move the rook anywhere else, that's gone. They can't go here to protect that pawn, obviously, because it's defended by the bishop. So that pawn is lost one way or the other. And so here they saw the writing on the wall, and so they opted to resign. But good game. GG. One of the fun things when I analyze my games and create a video is that I do some reading about positions that I've played against. It seems that the French defense can be quite protean. It can be sharp, positional, or quite aggressive. This seems to depend on what happens to the central pawns. I don't know how true this statement is, but as a heuristic, it seems that when the center is closed, for instance when I played e5 on move 3, it isn't good for black to attempt early aggressive maneuvers with their pieces. This can be seen in the stockfish evaluation of the game. Even though I didn't really know the position and played some inaccurate moves, at almost no time did Stockfish not rate the game as equal or give the advantage to white. My bishops and queen had some strong tactics with their diagonals, most of which I missed in the actual game. The turning point of the game happened when my opponent hung their knight, and their position was lost from that point onwards. I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.